Forged in Fire. My life set to hell difficulty. In the beginning, there are a few stories I remember from early childhood, but one memory triggers another and another, and so I have written down as many as I can recall as memory snapshots. As I recount my life from childhood to young adult and through my career up to the present, I think it is important that you understand why I describe my life as hell difficulty. Hell difficulty was set for me the day I was conceived, much less born. I have always felt my life was abnormally hard and challenging. The hardships I faced forged me to be strong and resilient and unrelenting with iron willpower. They also kindled and fanned the flames for my faith and ultimately my diminished faith, and my connection to hell and heaven and limbo and ancient mythologies. I had no name or label to describe my daunting challenges or how they made me evolve and feel. But then came a computer game in 1997 that I loved. It was called Diablo. It had the typical game difficulty settings, but it also had an insanely hard setting called Hell difficulty. It was a mode only available going online early on the internet days using the publishing company's Battle.net game servers. I proudly mastered that game and I excelled well beyond its challenges until it, too, was not difficult to me at all, except on its absolutely most difficult setting of Hell difficulty. Few people ever overcame and beat that challenge. It was one of those settings that were there to prove to people that the game would still win, no matter how hard they tried, and there's always something to do. But I overcame. I fought crazily to be able to beat Diablo in Hell difficulty. You know, as an aside, many games before Diablo were likewise easy to beat. I used to adjust the colors and brightness and contrast on TVs, so objects you had to engage with could barely be recognized, or barely be visible even on the TV to make it even harder to win. Inevitably, though, I would get the highest scores of anyone I played in the neighborhood and competed against. I could play blind, apparently, and still exceed most of their scores. No matter what my handicap was, I triumphed, and was better than everyone who competed against me. Players that beat the game in Diablo were rewarded with a frame around their portrait. When they went online, it would glow. But beating Diablo on its most challenging settings of Hell difficulty rewarded that golden portrait frame and a gold background. It was the ultimate in bragging rights, and it just felt awesome. To beat the devil in the most challenging setting possible, that was an accomplishment. I loved the fact that I could beat the devil in the most difficult setting presented. I proudly showed friends and colleagues my golden portrait. It was silly. Maybe they thought I was silly, but I felt great about it. Diablo's Hell difficulty setting reminded me of my life. Virtually impossible to survive and succeed, but extraordinary effort and talent can and will succeed. In life, I have encountered far more adversity than seems ordinary. I believe my hardships have been significant, and they would have crushed most people. I am convinced that I developed remarkable coping mechanisms and benefited from extraordinary focus and unrelenting motivation so that I could endure and triumph over life's damning challenges. My bottom line, I have lived a real life on the difficulty setting of Hell difficulty, something that was meant only for a game, not my reality. Dr. Bradbury, an upper middle-aged white man, spoke up from his iPad video chat window. "Richard, this game Diablo sounds like it was pretty important to you. What about it touched or influenced you so deeply?" Bradbury's question was actually a good one. I answered, "Well, it was just a great game. It was one of the first games that really captured the feeling of being in hell for me. And it was not scripted, so I could feel free to do whatever I wanted to as I delved deeper and deeper into the hell so that I might defeat the devil himself, Diablo. The game Diablo had great graphics and music and sound effects and lighting, at least for the era. It supported local area network play, which was a very rare thing for the time. Its controls and enemy movement and combat and logic and AI, why, it was just always solid and challenging. Yeah, there were little things you could exploit, but as a whole, it was great. The game was super compelling, addictive, and rewarding. It ended up with so many sequels, I'm not alone in thinking it was great. Well, anyway, the game Diablo came out when I was working as Director of Software Development at Mindscape. Working on Chessmaster, Poker Master, Panzer General 3D, and numerous other products. I even made installers for things like Tom Clancy's products. And so Mindscape teammates and I would play Diablo late at night after long days of creating games ourselves. It was both a fun experience for us, and honestly, it was great for team bonding. Bradbury challenged my answer though. But that just sounds like the game was great and you enjoyed it alone and with some colleagues at a company called Mindscape. I asked you a specific question. How did it touch or influence you so deeply? Well, Bradbury was right. I did not actually answer his question, I guess, at all. I felt like I had, but when he actually restated it, yeah, he was right. I did not. So I answered again. Okay. As a kid, for as long as I can remember, I wanted to be good, righteous, and to be a true knight. Even if it was a worn and beat up knight, I wanted to be a real knight. I wanted to defend the abused people. I wanted to evangelize God and Christianity. I wanted to defeat evil and fight wrongdoing like you could never believe. It was so deeply rooted inside me. Even as a toddler, I killed spiders and bugs to protect my older sisters. I have sworn never to lie or deceive anyone, and while people will assert that everybody lies, it is my belief that I am that exception. I do not lie. It has hurt and limited my career, my social life, but I don't care, because I believe it's wrong. And I do not intend to lie or deceive. Maybe I have unintentionally, but I do not think so. So, how in a modern world where I aspire and dream to become a knight errant, can I be one, a true knight? My first answer is to write my stories and computer and video games that will let me be that hero and knight, even if it's through my fantasy creations. The second answer is to read and play other people's stories and games that let me be or envision myself as that hero or knight of righteousness. 2 games deeply influenced me in this way. Diablo, a computer game, Descent into Hell. 2, Ultima, a computer game where you play as the avatar of virtue, representing all things good. Both Diablo and Ultima games, their themes are be good, do good, be righteous, be a paragon of virtue, evangelize good, and overcome evil. Okay, is that what you wanted to hear, Dr. Bradbury? I challengingly pushed back. Dr. Bradbury grinned as if he trapped me by goading me into detailing my love of Diablo. But I was unclear what he got out of me. He spoke softly. Thank you, Richard. I appreciate your commitment to being good. But I ask, how do you reconcile murdering a black man with being good? He asked, a little antagonistic, even though his voice was soft. I sighed heavily, as if exhaling Bradbury's BS. out of my system. I ranted. Damn it, I am not a murderer. I defended my life after saving 2 people from a mugging. Can't you see how obviously wrong it is that I am being judged and prosecuted and punished for helping people from evil? My God, how is it possible this world is so upside down? And why does everyone keep saying the guy race was black? He was just a bad man, that's it. It doesn't matter what the color of his skin was. He was mugging and threatening 2 people that were senior citizens. He clearly was prepared to kill them. I stopped him. The end. Race was not involved. There it is. I saved people from a terrible, bad man. I was very upset, as you could probably tell. Caselli leaned forward and touched my shoulder. I guess he was the only one in the room, so he was the only one who could physically touch me. He said, firmly but a little quietly, "It will be okay, Richard. It will be okay. Dr. Bradbury was just trying to understand your views on the incident. He was casting no judgment." Caselli reassured me. "Should we stop for the day, Richard? Or would you like to proceed?" Well, I wanted freedom, so my voice, while wavering and strained, still answered, "Can we please proceed? Please?" Bradbury chimed in from his iPad window. "Richard, I am very sorry to have distressed you so much. I was just trying to understand how such a good person could have done such a heinous thing. I believe you are an unusually good and honorable person that somehow ended up in a bad situation. And you chose the wrong course of action in that moment. Therefore, my questions are not meant to upset, but rather to ascertain your perspective on the matters. Nothing more." I knew Dr. Bradbury meant well. I didn't think he was mean. He certainly did not intend to offend or insult me. But I was incensed. I felt it in my heart that all 3 doctors were constantly judging me. They may use words like evaluate or assess, but they are really judging. Their questions were leading to their intended outcome, or questions framed such that the only answer is what they wanted to hear. Any other answer would make me look bad, dumb, or dishonest. Their questions were all about entrapment, and they were good at entrapment. None of this situation felt fair or right in any way to me. It was obvious that they were judges because without their consent, I would remain locked up forever. More. That's forever. Yeah, that means they are judging me, damn it. They can pretend otherwise, but it is their judgment that releases or keeps me here. Caselli could see my fury, though I presumed my thoughts were contained. I guess my face, my expressions, were just too much. I couldn't contain it. He tapped his pen loudly like a tiny gavel. "Let's continue then, Richard." "Richard? Are you paying attention, Richard?" Obviously, I was paying attention. But Dr. Caselli did not like it when I was quiet. Unless, of course, he was talking.